What's up, y'all? Welcome back to GridironTalkZone. Today I'm going over my Week 5 NFL Power Rankings for 2022. So last week I did the Week 4 Power Rankings, just ranking every NFL team 1 to 32 based on how good I think they are right now. This is not predictions, just simply ranking the NFL teams. What goes into this is obviously if you win, you're likely to move up, and if you lose, you're likely to move down. But that's not really the end all be all because then it would kind of just be standings rankings. So basically, how good I think your team is right now, how good they look on the field, what are they putting out there on a weekly basis, and that usually plays into them winning or losing. So I'm going to try to get these videos out every week with the power rankings. But if I miss a week getting a video out, then they'll be on Twitter or Instagram or both probably in a graphic with my power rankings. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into the video. Coming in at number 32 on the power rankings, I got the Houston Texans staying put after this past week. They lost to the Chargers. The Chargers were very injured, so although the Texans made the final score look pretty, 10-point game or so at the end. I wish the Texans would have played better throughout the first three quarters and maybe gave the Chargers a fight, but I just don't feel very good about the Texans right now. Offense hasn't looked good at all, so they're staying put at 32. On to 31, I got the Carolina Panthers. They were 28 after they beat the Saints not this past week, but the week before that in week 3. But now they come off a loss to the Cardinals. The offense just doesn't really look good at all. The defense actually looks solid. Brian Burns playing well, but the offense just with Ben McAdoo, Baker Mayfield, they just haven't seemed to look good. So the Panthers are moving down 3 spots after a bad performance versus the Arizona Cardinals. On to number 30, I got the Detroit Lions moving down a spot. We'll just go over 30 and 29 at the same time. 30 Lions, 29 Seahawks. Seahawks move up 2 spots because they beat the Lions in an absolute shootout, 48 to 45. The Lions, they were banged up, but I still got to move them down a little bit just because of how bad that defense is playing. They're the worst defense in football, but they have one of the best offenses in football right now, so that's interesting. But the Lions, the 1 spot below the Seahawks. Moving on to 29, as I mentioned, I got the Seahawks. Great offensive performance, putting up 48 points against a bad defense, but 48 points in the NFL is 48 points. So you definitely got to credit them for that. Geno Smith playing pretty well. Much like the Lions, they're looking pretty good offensively and not good on the defensive side at all. But the 2-2, they're at 29. Moving on. I got the Bears at 28. The Bears just lost to the Giants 20-12. The offense just couldn't score a touchdown. The offense couldn't really get much going. They were moving the ball a little bit from time to time. Fields had that big deep shot to Mooney. But other than that, they can run block solid. They can run the ball solid. But Fields is not playing well at all right now. And the pass blocking from the O-line is not good at all either. And outside of Mooney, I don't feel confident in any of their receivers. And they struggle to stop the run on defense, although they do play the pass pretty well. So overall, just not a very good team right now. I got them at 28. And they still got some young coaching too with Luke Getsy and Matt Eberflus. On to number 27, I got the Washington Commanders. The Commanders, they just really haven't looked good at all the last 3 weeks. They've been moving down every week. They just lost to the Cowboys with Cooper Rush, and they didn't even really compete much. They lost 25-10. I wish the Commanders just could really get it going offensively. They have a good receiving core. I feel like Carson Wentz can still play solid from time to time, and while the defense has talent, it's really disappointed. So they should be getting Chase Young back here very soon, so hopefully that'll help. But yeah, I got the Commanders down 4 spots from last week, now at 27. On to 26, we got the Pittsburgh Steelers. They lost to the New York Jets, a game where it felt like they were in control and should have won towards the end there when they took the lead, and then they ended up blowing it to the Jets. So they're moving down 6 spots. They're moving on from Mitch Trubisky at quarterback as the starting quarterback to Kenny Pickett now, the rookie. Hopefully that provides this team a spark. I'm just not really feeling it right now with the Steelers. So they're down 6 spots at 26. On to 25 is a team that has sneakily impressed me here early on in the year, especially after this last week beating a good Cleveland Browns team. I have the Falcons moving up 5 spots from 30 to 25 here in week 5. So the Falcons, they've actually had a good start to the year. They're coming off back-to-back wins, beating the Seahawks 2 weeks ago in Seattle, and now they just beat they beat the Browns. And the first 2 weeks, if you look at those, they played well versus the Saints, and they played somewhat well versus the Rams. So the Falcons are really looking solid here early on, moving up 5 spots after the Week 4 win versus the Cleveland Browns. So I got the Falcons at 25. On to number 24 in the power rankings, I got the Saints. The New Orleans Saints actually have that weird scenario where you lose a game and move up one, but they did play the Vikings pretty tight. They lost on a field goal that they almost made, and it would have tied the game. It was a double doink from 61 yards. But Andy Dalton played pretty good, and I feel like maybe he should be the starter going forward instead of Jameis Winston, but time will tell there. And just overall, the Saints played the Vikings with some guys injured better than I thought they would. Michael Thomas was out. So I like the way the Saints played, and they get to move up 1 spot, but they're still a 1-3 team. Not looking very good outside of that. So I got the Saints at 24. On to 23, I got the New England Patriots. This is a team that does move down 5 spots. They are a team that just lost to the Packers, but they actually competed, and with Bailey Zappe as your quarterback most of the game, that's pretty good to compete with the Packers in Lambeau Field. So that's impressive from them, but just what's going on around them, I don't really think I can have them above any of the other teams. Maybe a few of them are debatable, but I really think the Pats are in a good spot. They are in a good spot here at 23. Moving on to the Jets at 22. Jets moving up 4 spots from last week after an impressive win versus the Steelers in Acrisure Field, the stadium or whatever in Pittsburgh. So the Jets get Zach Wilson back, and they go on the road and beat the Steelers team. That's impressive. So got them moving up 4 spots to 22. The Browns are now at 21. They moved down 5 spots after being ranked 16 last week. You lose a game to the Falcons, you're probably going to move down. But the Browns, they're still playing pretty well early in the year, starting 2-2. Lost 2 very close games. So that's, if you're going to lose, you prefer it to be close. I don't want to see you go getting blown out. But yeah, the Browns playing some solid ball. They're at 21. On to 20, I got the Cardinals up 4 spots from last week. The Cardinals beat the Panthers. They beat the Raiders in week 2. They lost both week 1 and 3, but they lost to the Chiefs and Rams, so pretty good teams they lost to. But overall, Cardinals, maybe they can start getting it going. They did play pretty well versus the Panthers overall, so this is a team that I think once they get D-Hop back, that should help them, especially offensively. But I'm still not sure how good their defense can be, and just overall the team and coaching, I'm still unsure on, but not too confident that they're going to be a team that keeps moving up, but they're here at 20 right now. Let's see what they can do. On to 19, the Denver Broncos. They lost to the Raiders. They moved down 6 spots. Just because you look at them, 2-2 start, the first 3 weeks, they weren't very impressive, to say the least. And last week, your offense starts to get things going, but your defense doesn't look good at all versus the Raiders. So the Broncos still got a lot to get figured out here, and they're moving down 6 spots to number 19. On to number 18, I got the Indianapolis Colts. Another team moving down a lot. This team moves down 7 spots. The Colts, they started 0-1-1. Then they beat the Chiefs in week 3 in Indianapolis. Impressive win there to get your first win of the year to get to 1-1-1. Now you play a division opponent at home in Indianapolis. You play the Tennessee Titans. And I believe you were down 24-3 at one point in the game. You did make it 24-17 with some chances to score at the end, but just ultimately couldn't execute. A team that just hasn't looked good at all really early on, and I got them moving down 7 spots at 18. They're going to be playing the Denver Broncos next week, or this week, Thursday Night Football. That should be in a big game for both teams to see if one of these teams can really move up. The other one will probably end up moving down, so let's see how the teams play on Thursday night. 18 and 19 play each other, but now we're on to 17. I got the Raiders up 5 spots from last week. Started 0-3. Team really didn't feel like an 0-3 team because they put out some solid play during the first 3 weeks. Now you play a division opponent in Las Vegas. Pretty much a must-win game for them. You don't want to start 0-4, especially losing to a division opponent at home. But they were able to beat the Broncos. Solid or good performance from the offense, putting up over 30 points. So I like what I saw from the Raiders, and they're moving up 5 spots to 17 on the power rankings. On to number 16 on the power rankings, I got the Tennessee Titans, moving up 5 spots. I believe this team was around 26 or so 2 weeks ago. Then they beat the Raiders at home. They moved up 5. Now you go and beat your division rival Indianapolis Colts in Indianapolis to move up 5. Then you're kind of factoring you did lose to the Bills badly, but it's the Bills in week 2. And you lost a weird close week 1 game against the Giants, who are 1 spot above you, where you kind of had a field goal to win at the end and you just didn't get it through. But yeah, the Titans, they move up 5 spots. They're now in the top half of the power rankings at 16. Let's see if they can keep it rolling. But back-to-back wins, you're going to move up, and Titans are at 16. On to number 15, the team that beat the Titans week 1, who are now 3 and the Giants are now 3-1. The Giants are here at 15. Moving up 4 spots from last week after a win versus the Chicago Bears. Wasn't the prettiest game, but your defense did not let the Bears score a touchdown, which is impressive, even though it's the Bears. And Saquon Barkley really got it going on the ground for the Giants' run game. So the Giants have some things to like here. Have they been the most perfect 3-1 team? No, but they're still 3-1 at the end of the day, and that's impressive. So now you got to play the Packers in London. Daniel Jones and Tyrod Taylor both could potentially be out. We'll still see on that, but it could go bad really Sunday for the Giants. But right now you're at 15, moving up 4 spots from last week. On to number 14, I got the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is weird. They lost, but they move up 3 spots. So they lost to the Eagles in a game they were up 14-0 on the road in Philadelphia. Spoiler alert, the Eagles are my number 1 team. And whenever you're a team in Jacksonville who's 2-1 going into that game, you lose to the Eagles, but you were up 14-0. Just had some fumbles, turnovers that you don't want to see. But overall, slightly impressive performance from the Jags. I feel like the Jags are a better team than the Giants and Titans right now. It's close, but they just kind of moved up 3 spots because of what's going on around them. Teams like the Colts, the Broncos, the Browns, the Patriots, all moving down a lot, contributed to the Jags going up. But I got the Jacksonville Jaguars here. Still an impressive 2-2 start, considering the teams they beat in the Los Angeles Chargers and the Indianapolis Colts, who they shut out. So I got the Jacksonville Jaguars here up 14. On to 13, I got the Dallas Cowboys, led by Cooper Rush. Now at number 13 on my power rankings. The Cowboys' defense looking like maybe the best in football. That pass rush led by Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence is lethal. Trayvon Diggs is only growing as a cornerback. I really like what the Cowboys are doing here. You're winning games. You're beating solid teams. I guess the Commanders aren't the best team, but you did beat the Bengals back in week 2, so that's impressive. And you're getting it done with Cooper Rush, who's ultimately your backup quarterback, unless you're one of those people who think the Cowboys got a quarterback controversy. But still got CeeDee Lamb, and I feel like the Cowboys are starting to get things clicking, and they're going to be a tough team to beat if their defense can keep playing like it is, and the offense only improves when Dak gets back. This team will be tough to beat. So I got the Cowboys at 13. On to number 12, I got the Los Angeles Rams, down 4 spots after a poor performance on a Monday night versus the San Francisco 49ers. So the Rams, they just haven't really looked as good as they did last season this year. That's expected when you lose some pieces like Von Miller, like Andrew Whitworth, Darius Williams. But the addition of Allen Robinson quite hasn't worked out just yet, but they got to get it going at some point. But right now, you're down 4 spots. Again, you got pretty much beat up by a division opponent in the 49ers on primetime Monday Night Football. And your first 3 games, you didn't look the best, but you're still 2-2. But yeah, the Rams aren't looking super good right now, so they moved down 4 spots. They're at 12. On to number 11, I got the Minnesota Vikings. They squeaked by the Saints in a game where it really felt like they had complete control over and somehow almost lost to the Saints in London. The Vikings are still a 3-1 football team, but I just feel like after this week, you got to move down 2 spots. You didn't play your best ball in a situation where I expect you to play very good against a beat-up Saints team in London. But the Vikings moved down 2 spots, mainly what's going on around them. Look at the Niners, got to move above them after a huge division win. I got the Chargers at 10. The Chargers beat the Texans. The Chargers wasn't the most impressive win, but they still pretty much controlled the game the whole way through. Got to win, and that's what matters. The 2-2. I like their talent. They are getting banged up, so that could hurt their chances at being a potential Super Bowl team. But who knows what can happen? You got a franchise quarterback and still a pretty good defense, even without Joey Bosa for I think 8 to 10 weeks. But I got the Chargers at 10, moving up 2 spots after beating the Texans to get to 2-2 on the year. Number 9, I've referenced them a few times. The Niners, man, this team, whenever they click in, this team looks super hard to beat. And they're one of those teams who I could see them winning the NFC. I'm not predicting it right now. I didn't have that before the year, but they're one of the teams who they can get everything click in. This defense can play like the best in football. You now got a breakout star safety in Ufanga, having that big pick six versus the Rams on the Monday night game. Just really played well all 4 games really to start the year. I really like this Niners team right now. You got Debo, Ayuk, good running game, very good coach, and Kyle Shanahan. Jimmy Garoppolo, whenever he can manage the game and do his thing, this team is pretty much almost unbeatable. Not going to say they're unbeatable, almost unbeatable. There's a handful of those teams that can probably give them trouble with the high-powered offenses, even as good as the Niners defense is. But when this team's clicking, it's clicking, and they're going to be tough to beat for anybody. So I got the Niners moving up 5 spots at number 9 on the power rankings. My number 8 team on my power rankings is the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers, they do move down 1 spot after a win, which is odd, but factor in the Bengals beating the Dolphins, got to move the Bengals ahead of the Packers after the Packers almost lost to the Patriots with Bailey Zappe as the quarterback for most of the game. But you still pull out a win. That's what matters. But really looking at the Packers overall, the defense was impressive the first 3 weeks. Then giving up 24 points to Bailey Zappe. I know you don't really have a game plan for Zappe, but still the Patriots run game got going. Zappe didn't have to do too much, but made those when he needed to, and still not a good performance from the Packers defense overall. Packers offense has looked a little disappointing too early in the year, so they're at number 8 right now. Definitely could pick it up. The Packers could definitely pick it up, but right now I got them at number 8. On to number 7, I got the Baltimore Ravens. I got the Baltimore Ravens at 7, moving down 2 spots after being number 5 last week. The Ravens, they lost to a good team in the Bills, but it felt like they kind of controlled the game the whole way through. Really not the whole way through, but the first half, it looked like the Ravens were going to run away with it. Then the Bills kind of fought back, and the Bills ultimately won the game off a 20 or so chip shot yard field goal at the buzzer. The Ravens, I wish they would have just executed down the stretch and were able to win the game for their sake, but you lose a game like that, you're not going to move down too much. They're moving down 2 spots here at number 7. They got a big game, and they could easily move back up if they beat the number 6 team this weekend. We'll see what happens in that game. But my number 6 team is the Cincinnati Bengals, moving up 4 spots after a big win versus the Miami Dolphins on Thursday Night Football. Tua did get hurt. He probably shouldn't have even played anyway, but he got hurt really bad with a concussion in the second quarter, I believe. So maybe the Dolphins could have won the game, but the Bengals still won, and the Bengals played good enough to win. They didn't play amazing, but they played good enough to win. Won 2 games in a row. Still a very talented, good roster. A little bit of a shaky 0-2 start, but they were able to bounce back, get to 2-2, and now it's just time for them to stack up the wins. But they have a tough opponent this week in the Ravens. But Bengals at number 6 right now. I still like them a lot. On to number 5, I got the Dolphins. The Dolphins, they're going to move down 1 spot only because you did lose to a good Bengals team, and the starting quarterback did get hurt in Tua Tagovailoa. I know he's going to be out for a little bit. Bridgewater will be the quarterback for we'll see how long, but I don't know how much that's going to affect them in the weeks coming forward. They do have the Jets this weekend. It's not the toughest opponent, but definitely not a for sure win or anything. But the Dolphins, you got to factor in who they beat early in the year, the Ravens and the Bills. The 3-1, I got them at number 5. Very good team still, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And they got a great receiving core, or duo really, with Waddle and Hill. So I got the Dolphins at 5. On to number 4, I got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Buccaneers, they are 2-2, but look at what they've done this year. Beat the Cowboys, beat the Saints, pretty good wins. Then you lose to the Packers, game where you had a lot of receivers out. Then you lose to Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. But the loss last week, I actually kind of feel good about them, how I saw the offense play. I was a little worried about the offense after 3 weeks, but the offense puts up 31 points on the Chiefs. Pretty good really good offensive performance. It's just the defense really couldn't stop Patrick Mahomes and his Chiefs offense and allowed 41 points. The Chiefs the Chiefs are the better team than the Bucks right now for me, though. That's why they're at number 3 and the Bucks are at number 4. The Bucks, I just don't feel like your defense is gonna. I'm not predicting here like the power rankings, but really your defense, I still feel good about. I don't think it's gonna give up 41 points again this year. We'll see, but overall, I feel like this team well rounded with a good offense, good defense, and you've got to factor in who they lost to. They lost to some very good teams. 1 week the Packers, guys out at receiver really, so I still feel like this Bucks team is really good. I got them at number 4. On to number 3, I got the Kansas City Chiefs, moving up 3 spots from last week. You beat the Buccaneers, as I mentioned. Offense looked literally unstoppable. Defense wasn't great, but you still won the game, 41-31. Beat a good Bucks team. You're bound to move up. Got them at number 3. Number 2 and 1 are both staying the same from last week. The Bills beat the Ravens, so the Bills are going to stay at 2. The Bills are 3-1. They have a loss to the Dolphins, but still a very good team. We know that they're a Super Bowl contender. Number 1, I got the Philadelphia Eagles, 4-0, but just the way they win. They got to a shaky start versus the Jags, down 14-0 at home this past weekend, but the way they rallied and picked it up and just really controlled the game from the time they were down 14-0 to the end and were able to win the game versus the Jaguars, it was impressive for the Eagles to win that game versus the Jaguars. So I like how the Eagles are looking 4-0. I got the Eagles at number 1 in the power rankings, staying put. Showed me no reason to move him down, so I'm going to keep him at number 1. Only 4-0 team in football. So see if they can keep it up. But that's the power rankings for this week. We can look at the teams trending up real quick. Niners, Titans, Raiders, Falcons, all moving up 5 spots. Then for trending down teams, Colts moved down 7 spots. Tough loss was the Titans at home. Steelers moved down 6 spots, losing to the Jets at home. Broncos moving down 6 spots, losing to the Raiders in Houston. Not Houston, in Las Vegas. But the Broncos, I expect them to start to pick it up soon. Not like amazing or anything, but they got to pick it up at some point. They haven't looked very good at all to start the year. But that's going to be the power rankings. So there's 1 to 32. Hope you enjoyed. And I'll see you later in the week with my weekly podcast with Graham, my co-host. So yeah, see you then. Thanks for watching. Peace.